Hey guys, welcome to another Game Explained discussion. I'm your host, Andre Seegers, and this time we're joined by Ash Paulson, Derek Bittner, and Tom Arnold to discuss our impressions of everything Nintendo Day 1, which means mostly Zelda. So, let's get started. Alright guys, so today was rather interesting for Nintendo. Well, first off, this is probably the least amount of games I've played ever on Day 1 of E3.
Easily.
Yeah, because I played nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah, you and Tom played nothing, I think.
Yep.
Ash and I really only played one game, plus maybe one other that we can't talk about yet, but very soon. And even those games, like, very limited amounts.
Yeah.
We did get lucky with Zelda near the end of the day, I think.
I would say, but like collectively, we didn't play much more than I played less than an hour today, and you played maybe a little bit more than an hour.
Yeah.
And that's it.
That's
like,
it.
Yeah, it really was a light day in terms of actual gameplay. Which is strange.
Strangely enough, so Derek stayed behind to cover the Nintendo Direct as news was coming out of that.
Well, the Treehouse, yeah.
Yeah,
because
that's what I meant, yeah.
I wasn't sure, we weren't sure what was going to happen because it was a very different situation for us because, well, if you're subscribed to us, you realize in past E3s, when the Direct happens, we get those videos up and that's pretty much it. You get that all split up into one part. And Nintendo just kept releasing information throughout the day, whether it's updates on Zelda. All of a sudden, we have a release date for Paper Mario. All of a sudden, we found out we have a new IP coming tomorrow, an informative RPG for the 3DS. Just constant updates, and I think I did like 8 or 9 updates today. I bet people were getting sick of me saying, "Hey, everyone, welcome! Time for another update."
Yeah, and non-stop new Amiibos too.
Yeah, that was weird too.
It almost felt like somewhat of a normal E3 if you ignore the fact they only had one game on the show floor.
Right?
Yeah.
The weirdest thing about the Amiibo for me was that we got all these new Amiibo, but still no Cloud, Corrin, or Bayonetta announcement. Which it just seems like, where are they? It's weird.
Waluigi's got to come first, man. That's,
I guess, yeah. Waluigi,
Yeah, I
man.
loved when the whole Waluigi thing came out because the first we got it was just Waluigi, I think. And it was like, oh, that was such a cool way for them to reveal it because they went to somebody's December 26, 2015 tweet and they said, am I going to have a Waluigi amiibo for next Christmas? And then it's just Nintendo. Yup. And with the Waluigi amiibo. So I was going to do a pure update on that. And all of a sudden, the Zelda amiibo broke, and all the rest of the Super Mario amiibo broke, and I was like, "Oh!"
lots of random stuff I didn't expect to hear about, especially after Nintendo's messaging going into this, being like, "Yeah, we don't really have anything," and they had a surprising amount, which maybe that was their whole game plan, like going to lower everyone's expectations to such a point that anything beyond that would impress them.
Yeah.
And now we know Day 2 is going to have quite a few more things that should be shown on the Treehouse.
Yeah.
No, Derek, since we all watch the Treehouse to some degree early in the morning, but once the show floor opened, Ash, Tom, and myself were mostly focused on getting to our appointments with Nintendo to play these games, or this game. And so I think you probably got the best look at the Treehouse. So what did you think of how Nintendo did in that respect?
Well, as far as the structure of the Treehouse itself, that's about the only thing I can comment on because I honestly didn't watch that much because, again, those updates were constant.
Yeah.
And by the time I get finished making one, it was time for another, or else I'd have a bank of
But you were tuning in and out as most people probably were.
Yeah,
Most people aren't watching all like 6 hours in one go.
Yeah, exactly. At a certain point, I had my earphones and just listening to them. But the way they had it structured, where they have just a section, they talk about this section and what you can do within it. And then we'll take a short break, reconvene, and come back, and here's a new section of things we can do. And they had different people playing and talking about it, and it all kind of worked. You kept getting new information, new areas, new perspectives, and I love how...
On Zelda Wii U specifically.
Yeah, of course. Just Zelda Wii U.
Right.
And by the time, the one time I looked in, they were demonstrating how the different temperatures work for Link and how he has to wear warm clothes when you go into cold climates. So one of the things they did was they cooked up some the spicy peppers so you can have food that will keep you warm for 10 minutes or 5 minutes depending on how much spicy pepper you put in. But before they did that, they had Link go into the cold with his shirt off. And they pause it for a second, and it's just him there freezing his like you can see the red splotches on him as he's getting colder and he's like shivering. It was like so much emotion and animation, like a personality for Link, just because of him freezing.
Okay, well before we get too far into Zelda Wii U, because that'll be the bulk of this discussion.
Yeah.
What did you think of their Pokemon segment?
The Pokemon segment was good. There was a lot of information in there.
Yeah, which we'll be covering very soon.
Yeah, I can't do a full analysis at E3. That is extremely tough. But I do have a Pokemon video that I'm going to be working on as soon as this discussion is over, pointing out some things that you guys might have missed.
So were you surprised by how much they showed of the game, or like was it what you expected?
It was about what I expected because they didn't go beyond the first area. It was the exact same area I thought of. I did not think they'd show off the new Pokemon, but basically we know the opening Pokemon now. We know it's Pick-a-Peck, we know it's Young Goose, and Grubbin. And Grubbin didn't appear on the stream, but, basically that's the opening bit, along with a couple other returning Pokemon. And honestly, the interface is the thing that impressed me most.
Right.
It has an excellent mix of something for existing players and new players, because it actually provides information. Like, how you always get those things like your defense is lowered. Well, what's that tell you? Now you can actually access your Pokemon and see the effect. Yeah. See
the
cool. effects stack up to 6 times, and now you have a way to keep track of what's going on. And just smart additions like that. Plus, the UI is very nice looking, I think.
Yeah.
And it all just comes together really well, and actually is helping new players. I'm sure if you came in now, you're like, what the hell, fairy type? What am I supposed to do with this? Now it actually shows if a move is just normal, it's just it just says effective, and it actually says super effective. It is super effective, and you can actually change it throughout Pokemon. And it's a very clever way to both streamline it and make it accessible for new players. Some people might not like that because everything has to be difficult, but for me personally, I think these are really cool changes. Everything, even everything else they showed about the battles and the trainers and little things here and there, I think it looked excellent. I am super excited for the 7th gen.
Oh, that's awesome. That's good to hear. But what did you see much of it, Ash? Or
I saw some of it. I really, and this is part of the initial trailer they released too, but I really like the use of paint streaks for some of the messaging on the bottom screen and even the effects on the top screen. It kind of adds a fun, fresh feel to it. Just kind of like a colorful, breezy feel to this new generation. And I really like that.
Breezy? Sounds like a Zelda transition.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Before we do that, will say I do like the new... Did you see the transition in the battles?
No, I didn't.
Okay, so the new thing here is if you get into... how if a trainer sees you, your eyes lock, you have to battle. Now, when you get close to a trainer that will actually fight you, dark lines show up at the top and bottom of the screen, showing uh-oh, we're preparing for a fight. Oh. And when you actually get in with range, exclamation point appears, the black bars come together, shift to the side, and we form an exclamation point, and the battle starts. It's super...
That's cool.
It's both utilitarian and looks good, and I think that's the big takeaway I had for Sun and Moon.
Nice. Well, yeah, that sounds awesome then. So, the thing is, Nintendo had 2 very strong games they showed off today in depth, which is weird, but it seems like it kind of worked. I being busy most of the day, I didn't have time to see what people were saying, but it seemed like people were receptive to seeing so much of Zelda. Yeah. Which is funny because at the same time we're not seeing that much of Zelda, given the entirety of that experience.
It's true. And what's interesting is that it seems like it's been a wholly positive experience for Nintendo so far. You don't really hear a lot of people hating on Nintendo's E3 presence this year, like you did last year with their pretty bad Direct. And it's interesting. We initially decried the lack of a Direct this year, but it might actually be working out for them. This kind of gambling on Zelda seems to have worked out, and doing the Treehouse stuff the way they have been. I feel like Nintendo's having a much more positive presence this year, despite having only 1 or 2 games to actually show.
Maybe they found out it's best not to just pack it all in the 30-minute Direct, or let's say 1 hour, and trickle it out more. The example I can think of is Weird Al in his latest album released 1 video every single day, right? Instead of just all at once, and he managed to get to number 1 in the charts. So if it worked for Weird Al,
he knows what he's doing.
Yeah, it could work for Nintendo.
Now, Andre, I know the thing you're most excited about was that stealth Mario Party announcement, right?
Oh man, you know it.
Star Rush.
Star Rush is what it is.
On 3DS too, the best platform to play Mario Party games on. I'm so stoked.
And people don't have to wait their turns; they get to play all at once.
That actually is exciting news
to
me.
That part legitimately might be good, assuming it doesn't just reference the car again.
That's what I'm saying. That's what they said about the car.
I know. It's so. I know. The thing is, I don't want to play Mario Party on my 3DS.
Exactly.
You want to play it on your living room couch with your friends around you drinking beer or whatever.
Well, you could download Mario Party DS on the Wii U Virtual Console, and why would you ever do that? It's such a strange release.
Yeah, it is interesting how we found out even more about Nintendo's plans tomorrow. Today it's just it almost does seem like an actual E3 for them to some degree. If you're at home, it does seem closer to that than if you're actually at the show. So I guess speaking of being at the show, which I mentioned seeing when we first went into the convention center and people are running to Zelda, and
I am not surprised.
That line was stacked. That line was ridiculous, and I can only imagine how long it took people to get through that thing, because these demos were, I think, what.
It was a 15-minute demo, then a 20-minute
demo. Yeah, so 35 minutes in total.
And there weren't that many demo units on the floor. Like, a lot of that space wasn't utilized well.
It wasn't.
There's a lot of open space.
They did a lot of great theming, and it felt like you were almost in Hyrule to some degree. Like, they had like lightning flashes going off, and you hear birds chirping. But yeah, there weren't that many kiosks, and they weren't doing a great job cycling people through those either.
I mean, like, even like pretty much any time of day when we were walking through there were like a bunch of unused kiosks there. Like there were just several units that weren't being played at all, and they were just kind of standing around and they weren't being used. And I'm just like, wow, that could be better and more efficient.
Well, I'm pretty sure that they had an entire section in the corner that wasn't used at all for like hours.
Right? Yeah, like that one corner. Yeah, it was weird.
It felt like they just left it for the next wave of people to come in, and they couldn't just trickle people in, or like get them in the next thing. But also the Link statue with the bow and arrow. Did you guys try walking between where he was pointing at and the Guardian?
No, not intentionally.
I'm not sure if it was like a coincidence or not, but I walked through there and all of a sudden you start hearing the bow and arrow sound effects.
So you heard him actually fire his arrow?
No.
So like he was taking out Tom? And it wasn't coincidence. I found out that actually they are triggered by people walking through there.
That's awesome.
So no, the booth itself looked awesome. It's just, and I just wish they were more efficient with managing people. Especially for people, we were lucky in that we were able to get appointments. Most people aren't. If you're not press or media, you just stand in that line. That line looked ridiculous. We talked to people today who were like, I just don't have time to stand in that line.
Yeah, like straight up, as excited as I am about Zelda, I don't think if I wasn't media, I don't think it would have bothered because there's too much other stuff to look at, and I feel like standing in that line would have been most of the day. Just to play once.
It would have been,
Yeah, and I just don't think, it's too long.
The weird thing is, too, about the demo is, before we get to our impressions of it, is they do split up the demo into, like, was it 15-minute chunk then?
15, I think it's 15 and 20.
Then 20.
Yeah.
Which is so weird because they're in the same area. Like, I don't know why they even have that break. Like, you're exploring the same area with basically the same equipment, essentially,
it could be. Maybe there are certain flags set in one demo that they don't want you to see, like events triggered or something.
I felt like when we went for our appointment, they actually just turned off the time limit and let's play until the end of the day. Yeah. It was way better that way. We got to explore the world on our own terms and see what we want.
But what's interesting, though, is that there was that specific thing with the guidelines where we couldn't play 2 shrines because they would stop the demo for us if we did. So I feel like there's something going on behind the scenes.
Yeah.
There's something they don't want us to see.
Yeah.
Which,
obviously.
Well, obviously, but I mean something specific to the demo area. Right. It was weird. Yeah.
Could be. All right, well, let's dive into the Zelda nitty-gritty. We had our raw reaction this morning. We didn't have Derek on that, though. So I guess let's, now that... So only Ash and myself have played the game so far, but I think we've all seen a fair amount of it at this point.
Yeah.
So now that we've been sitting on this for almost 12 hours now, what do you guys think of everything you've seen of Zelda Wii U?
I mean, we always talked about how they have to be confident for this if they're going to be just focusing on it for E3. And I can see why they would be confident for this. Seeing the amount of stuff you can do, like cutting down the tree to breach a canyon, throwing boulders at enemies, the crazy stuff you can do with the Sheikah slate. It's just really cool ideas that make an open world Zelda work.
You know what's awesome, real quick, before the slight tangent, like the tree thing?
Firewood.
Yeah, we got firewood too. But like I discovered that, I guess it was in the trailer, but there was so much going on in the morning, I didn't remember everything in the trailer. But I'm like, wait, what if I just cut down this tree to cross this chasm? And I did that, but what's really cool is like it's not like most games where it falls in a prescriptive manner and lands and it's set in place. Yeah. I started crossing that log and it fell loose off the ground, so it tumbling with the log.
Yeah, it was awesome.
I was like, oh damn! So I only had like one tree left to try and cross. Like I was running out of trees. So I mean, that's what I really liked about the game was just like how naturalistic it felt. I guess.
Yeah, like the number of small ways that Link can interact with the whole world and different ways he can contextually interact with the environment is staggering. There's so much detail in this game, and I'm really impressed. I think overall by just how far Nintendo's stepping out of their Zelda comfort zone with this game. This game feels like the game Skyward Sword tried to be but wasn't. Like, it just feels like they're going full hog, like whole hog with the, open world, different focus.
Does it feel like a breath of fresh air?
Well, actually, I was going to say, my favorite part of this discussion so far is the fact that you've only called it Zelda Wii U still.
I cannot...
You're not calling it
Breath of the Wild. I honestly cannot remember the name. I've had trouble all day remembering the name, and it's... Hold on, the Breath of the Wind, right?
No. Breath of the Wild.
Breath of the Wild.
Damn it!
I've been calling it Call of the Wild for some reason. I don't know why.
Yeah.
I've had the same problem.
It's
I don't
so weird.
know why. Because when I try to do the updates and talk about Zelda, Call of the Wild, or Breath of the Wind, or Breath of the something, and I'm like, no, that's not right. And I have to have it in front of me so I can remember it.
It's-
and I don't know why it's not sticking.
The weird thing is, like, I think it's a good name.
I think so, too.
yeah,
Like, I don't
the
dislike
name.
it. Yeah.
I just can't remember it when I need to.
I think part of it is the fact that it's a weird kind of a departure for Zelda naming conventions.
It
Because
is.
usually it's named after the key item or something or a specific plot point. This is like an overall concept. It's talking about what Hyrule is now. It's kind of untamed and wild, but it's not a specific thing.
Right.
And that might have something to do with it.
That could be. That very well could be. You talk about the contextualizing with all the stuff that you can do in the game. How long do you think it's going to be until somebody tries to burn down all of Hyrule?
That's like one of the first things,
Yeah.
that I'm sure someone will do.
I tried burning down the camp and just ended up like killing myself horribly.
That's awesome.
It looked like a shrub went out fairly quickly though when it was burning. What did you notice that when you were trying to light things on fire?
I think it did. I don't think it quite gets to. I was based on what we've seen like Far Cry 2 levels of like the environment going up in smoke.
Yeah.
But I mean, who's to say? Like it's still like I think there's much more we can do with the environment than we've seen at this point.
Yeah.
And that is why I find this game exciting. Because like, as Ash, man, that's tough to say. As Ash touched on, this is so far outside Nintendo's usual comfort zone for Zelda. Like I mean, as they themselves mentioned, this really is harkening back to the original Zelda NES, and we've seen that in many ways, like with it being open and how many like different ways you can go about things. And what I'm actually just personally happy about is how much I freaking nailed in the analysis, as well as how much they're living up to what I wanted in my top 10 hopes video, including the fact that we saw no rupees in the gameplay. There's tons of things to do, like I can go on, and also even the stealth element, which people made fun of me for predicting based on my grass analysis video.
Yeah.
Stealth, baby! It's in the game. It's a thing we can do. They dedicate a button to crouching, and
you can jump.
you can jump.
You
a
can
jump
jump.
button in
Yeah.
Zelda, like it's so. Let me just put it this way: they are doing things in this game that I have not found interesting before that I am now finding interesting. Like because of the way like they're combining elements of other games and with the magic of Zelda, and I think it's coming together in a way that other open world games haven't appealed to me.
There really is a sense of just mystery when you come out of that first tower and you see this whole world
That's
sprawling
on my
before
top
you.
10 list.
I know, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
But they nailed that. They nailed that sense of mystery that you feel when you first start Zelda 1.
It's like a quick version of Fallout 3 where you're in the vault for so long and you step out and all of a sudden
Right.
there's all the wasteland.
Actually, that's true.
Yeah.
And this is just you're waking up in this weird thing and you already know this character, so you don't need that build up to this world. Well, to this character, you wake up, you're in this strange place. You got some mysterious voice talking to you, calling it Zelda right now, by the way. And then you step out, and then they're gone. And like as soon as I looked over to you immediately, I was like, "Well, there you go. There's your quick opening."
There's my voice acting
Yeah.
too. Yeah,
And what's interesting too is that Zelda calls Link by name, so we're not going to be able to rename Link. It actually runs counter to what we were worried about before, with Link being less of a character.
Yep.
He's actually
They're
more
going
of a
all
character.
in.
Yeah.
Because not only was the gender choice thing didn't end up being true, now like you can't even rename Link because they call him that.
I mean, as far as we know,
as
but
far as
I-
we know.
I'm sure you can name your file.
Yeah, that's probably the
It's
case.
going to be Link
Sure.
no matter what.
I'm also totally okay with that too.
Oh, that's
Me
why I've
too.
always
Yeah.
called him because
Oh,
it just
yeah,
feels
fine with
right
that.
to have Link.
I mean, I usually did rename my file Andre or whatever, but I don't mind
That
it being
completely
Link, so.
takes me out of it if I see my own name.
I
in
can't.
Zelda.
Yeah.
You could just coincidentally be called Derek.
Yeah.
Derek can be a hero.
Yeah.
Never.
Derek was a hero today.
Yeah.
Say
It's
so.
true.
Updates.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there's a lot. I mean, there's a lot to say about this game. I feel like
There is. I mean, it's what I expected, and at the same time, more than what I expected.
Yeah, actually, that's a good way of putting it.
It's
It
weird.
is.
Yeah, it's hard to put into words because this really is the open world Zelda we expected, but at the same time, it's a little bit more than that.
Yeah.
Well-
I don't think I expected the scale.
Yeah, the scale is massive.
I was gonna say it's huge, but how many games have you felt confined by invisible barriers and stuff? But in this game, it looks like you can basically climb anywhere.
The
Just with the
things-
stamina meter.
The things you would think are barriers, you can just climb up. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
During my demo, Ash can attest to this. Like, I saw this giant ass wall. Like, basically, it's the ice wall ice wall. What's it called? Ice wall called from Going to Game of Thrones.
Just the wall.
The wall, yeah,
wall.
the wall. Like, it's basically that tall. I'm like, oh, let me try climbing it. I nearly made it to the top. I screwed up something at the top. But it took
Yeah.
probably 5-6
Although-
minutes.
Well,
Part of
actually,
that-
calling back to sorry, Ash,
Sorry.
but calling back to our discussion beforehand, we were about like talking about the fact that being able to climb is climbing interesting.
Okay, so that maybe is the one thing that like I mentioned in our discussion. Like, I hope they make climbing in and of itself fun. I wouldn't say it's necessarily fun in itself.
It's too slow.
Yeah, it's a little bit slow.
Yeah.
So I like that it exists. I like what it enables. But like they didn't make climbing itself like a mechanic. It's just something you can do, and you have to I guess the puzzle elements, if you want to call it that, come into play in finding like resting place so you can regain your stamina.
Well, and that's the thing I was going to touch on. I think part of the reason you almost made it with that wall wasn't you shouldn't have been able to make it as far as you did. Like basically, when you ran out of stamina the first time, you fell and then you landed on some weird part of the wall where you were clipping like you were on a platform, but you weren't. So I think that's something Nintendo's going to have to be careful about because you shouldn't have been able to make it as far as you did.
I will say it wasn't clear if I should be standing in those areas or not.
It didn't look like it. Just the way it looked like you were standing on a sheer mountain face, and it didn't make sense. So, clearly a lot of the demo, you could tell it was very early. Mm-hmm. Like, frame rate issues abound. Like, you can definitely tell the Wii U was struggling under the weight.
That's a good point. I didn't notice it that much the first time, but after you mentioned it, I went back the second time, when we were doing the direct feed, and I really got, sitting down and being immersed in it, that frame rate really is unsteady in that game.
Especially in combat.
Yeah, it definitely acts up. What's funny, though, is I wasn't minding it that much at the same time.
Yeah.
Maybe I might more in the final game, but I was enjoying the game so much, I wasn't...
Well, yeah, that's the thing. I didn't mind it in the context of it being an E3 demo. When I'm in E3, I expect there to be things like that. But I have to say, it was bad enough that it would bother me in a final retail game. So
maybe the hope is that the NX version would smooth all that out and...
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, and they did say on the Treehouse that the NX and Wii U versions are going to be identical experiences, but that we don't know if that really means graphics as well.
I think it literally just means, like, the raw game itself will be the same, but the performance, there could be performance differences.
You're not going to see the difference between Twilight Princess on Wii and GameCube. There's not going to be any mirrors, there's not going to be any motion control elements to it. And actually, that reminds me of that. I mean, we got an explanation for why Link is right-handed. And it's basically because all your attacks on the right side of the gamepad?
Guess what? It's been like that since the original Zelda. On literally every controller I've ever held. That's the dumbest reasoning. I can't deal with that.
I mean, the answer itself was stupid. I don't get that. On the other hand, like, I don't care if he's right or left-handed. If I had to choose, I'd prefer he be left-handed because I think it's kind of like a cool little touch.
It's like one of his few defining characteristics. And as a lefty, I was like always able to identify with Link, and now I can't in this one. Yeah. So
I mean, I did like the one explanation for it. Like for that particular update, I saw a comment. I don't know who said it, but they said, "Why is Link right-handed? Screw you. That's why."
Nice. Yeah. I saw some people either lovingly or not so lovingly referring to this as the Elder Scrolls 6 Hiram, which is pretty funny. Yeah.
It is strange though. Like that is a very apt comparison.
It is.
I think I heard someone. I think it was after we reported our rumor, which ended up being true, by the way, with the mini dungeons. We now know are shrines.
Right.
I think it was Neil from Nintendo World Report who said that the comparisons to Skyrim are more true than you know, and in many respects, I think it is. Like, this is a very Skyrim-esque game from Nintendo, but it's doing things in a way that I'm finding them more interesting than I did from... To be fair, I actually haven't played much of Skyrim, but what I have seen of Skyrim.
It's bizarre, though, to see, like, Link using equipment, like, and then having numbers associated, like attack power associated with equipment in a Zelda game. It is strange.
That's a great point. It's weird.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
It's weird picking up... Yeah, it's weird having, like, different clothing or... Well, I guess that you had tunics before, but like with different stats,
but they have
all
like
the different items. Yeah. Like every aspect of him has multiple elements he can have.
Yeah, like things break.
Yeah. Exactly.
I don't know if you guys saw this or not, but during the Treehouse, I showed a section of like him in a different area, not on the plateau, which is the starting area. He had a different hairstyle.
Oh wow!
You might be able to change his hairstyles in the game and like really customize how Link looks.
Maybe something give him more courage. I feel
yeah,
exactly.
But that's cool that there's so much more to his appearance that you can maybe customize this time around. And I mean, I like how he looks different in like the different clothes too. And it seems like there's going to be a lot of different outfits you can dress him up in that directly influence his stats, which is cool.
Yeah, and the sheer amount of weapons we've seen so far that you pick up. I mean, and also like in the past you would pick up, let's say, a stick, and only the stick could catch on fire. I saw the Boko Club catch on fire, and he could throw it at items and stuff and have those catch on fire after.
Yeah.
I picked up so in my demo when we record the direct feed, which you'll see, I came across some Stale Children, and they drop their arms, which you can pick up as weapons. You can attack them with their own arms. It is amazing.
That is
and
great.
You can just keep them in your inventory. I also found just a pole or what was it?
A spear.
A spear, yeah. And the range on that, like every item did feel distinct and different, and it felt to me like taking the idea they introduced in Wind Waker just to a far greater, better extent.
Yeah, because Wind Waker Link was just not big enough to make the use of that effectively. You could do it a little bit, but I always just stuck
there
with the
wasn't a
sword
ton
anyway.
used to it. Yeah,
there was never really a point to it. This, like, just seeing Link
spears have points, Derek.
totally do. Oh, careful! I gotta be careful of that edge. The axe that I really enjoyed because I don't know. There's something really cool about Link having this giant battle axe on his back as he's slowly climbing up a ladder to take out some bokoblins.
Yeah, it was fun. And actually, what's funny is I was chopping down those trees. I initially did it with my sword, just killed my sword in no time.
Yeah.
And then I went inside the nearby hut, found an axe, which is way better cut.
Although not before you tried to use a non-bladed weapon to cut down a tree, and were surprised when it didn't work. I was like, why did you think that would work? It was a club. It was a vocal club. And you were like trying to cut down the tree, and I'm like, that's not going to work. It was great.
Well, you got to test those limits, I guess.
Hey, to be fair, it wouldn't have been now played some previous Zelda games. It's only now that seems weird, right?
Yeah.
I guess Link can't use just his bare fists, right?
No, when you press the attack button and don't have a weapon, he just like reaches for something and it's like, oh, I don't have anything. So
okay.
Yeah. We mentioned Wind Waker before, which is a nice little segue into something I really liked, and I don't know if this is confirmed yet, but I keep hearing that on the Treehouse stream, they talked about the fact that the Koroks exist in this world means they officially have placed it in the Wind Waker timeline, which, that being my favorite Zelda game, I love that if it's true. So, we'll see.
I'm excited by that prospect, but the thing is, I'm confused as all hell by the timeline because
don't sweat the details.
Yeah,
just accept it.
Exactly.
Just accept that it's in the Wind Waker timeline. Maybe
there's no way this can take place before Wind Waker because it specifically references Ocarina of Time, and there's no way this is New Hyrule from Spirit Tracks.
Your line of thinking right now is like the surefire way to psychopath. Like, you're gonna lose your mind.
So that's all I'm gonna say on it. But it's like whatever. I'm in.
But it was cool seeing the Koroks in general, just because those are like we haven't seen them since Wind Waker, and it's like they're kind of a cool design, and it's like, oh, they're here again. Whoa, this is neat. So,
and you came across one just randomly when you were running around.
underneath a rock, which is pretty cool. And speaking of that,
did you squish them?
No, I did not. But that reminds me of the Sheikah slate and all the runes you can find. Those are cool. Like the magnet rune for one thing is awesome, but the one I like was the time stop rune. I can't remember what it's called. But it lets
I don't know if it's time stop, but
it's not, or stasis. It's called stasis. So it lets you stop the time for localized objects. So you can. I was in one of the shrines, one of the optional shrines, and there was like a gear, like a platform turning, and I had to stop it at the right time to be able to cross it. But what's even cooler is that you can use it on a boulder or something, like a rock or boulder, blocking a path, and so you use it, and then you start striking it with a hammer. And like all that kinetic energy is built up in the rock while time stopped, and then when time flows again, the rock just goes soaring.
It reminded me
awesome.
It reminded me of the Warthog physics in Halo 1. You throw a bunch of grenades, and just go flying.
Yeah, and like literally, I did that to a rock outside, and we could see it just launch off into the distance. Yeah. It was so cool.
Yeah, you in our video, if you watch it, you will actually see us track the walk, rocking distance, and hitting some distant mountain, rolling down the side.
Yeah, it was awesome.
It was
just
super
using
cool.
that to like take out a bokoblin fort.
And you could conceivably do that.
Yeah.
Like some of the abilities we're seeing in the game are actually unique and fun for Zelda. Like also the magnet ability, where you can grab things and you can actually move them around by tilting the gamepad. The motion controls actually work really well, by the way, both for that as well as the bow and arrow.
The aiming I thought was great.
Did you? Yeah, like you were watching when I took down that boar.
Yeah, it was a great shot.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah. This attracted, bam, dead.
And speaking of boars, you can hunt now. You can cook. Yep. That's even a thing now.
It reminded me of Metal Gear Solid 3 a little bit.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah.
That was really neat. Going back real quick to those stones and whatnot, I saw an example of that just during a small treehouse segment where they went to one of those shrines, and one of the things was it was constantly turning, so you had to make your way up, and there were 3 spiked metal balls in there that could hurt you, and rather than just trying to dodge them the entire time, they used magnet, picked up the balls, went out to the other room where there's just a big pit, just dropped them all off. So it was like, okay, don't have to worry about those anymore. And with the stasis ability, when they got up, I thought they were going to use stasis on the cog that was turning horizontally and just use that as a way to get on that way. No, they got an actual cog that was causing the turning, stasis that, and that stopped everything. It was just like...
Well, and that seems like it goes to something they've been saying, which is that there are multiple ways to solve every puzzle, and that sounded to me like just PR lip service, like that's not actually true, but it actually might appears like it might be really true.
I could see it just based on what we've seen of the world so far.
Yeah.
Like, just how non-structured it is.
Yeah. And even though when I was reading some of the recap stuff earlier, like, I love the fact that apparently you can spread a fire, like, deliberately and then use the hot air to, like, with the hang glider, paraglider, whatever, to get more air. And so I could totally see that being used in a way like you want to get to this far off location, but you can't, so you set a fire and you glide over it. And that keeps you aloft. Like, stuff like, there are so many ways that you can use the environment to your advantage, and it's so interesting.
Well, they showed a little... I saw a screen. I wasn't sure if they showed it off there in the treehouse, but probably. But you could get on boats, and like it's like a log raft, like Tom Sawyer and whatnot. You have a little sail, and you can actually grab a leaf and shake it in front of it and cause yourself to go faster and guide yourself that way.
Oh, that kind of reminds me of what you can do in Wind Waker, in some of the dungeons where you use a Deku leaf to push yourself, push the platform the way you want to go.
It's just, that's more structured. This has no structure to it, and I think that's what makes it more impressive.
It is impressive, and what really surprised me, and granted, I have to play more of the full game to say for sure, but like, based on how big just the demo area is, which apparently is just a small portion of the final game.
2%, they were saying?
If that's accurate.
Yeah, really.
Yeah.
But I can already tell, like, at least the density we experienced seemed far greater than, I know people can get on me for saying it, but Twilight Princess.
Oh, totally.
Like, there was so much more to do in this world, which is exactly what I wanted. Mm-hmm. It brings back the sense of exploration and discovery that Zelda's been missing for quite some time.
Yeah.
I love that. It's getting me excited. Like, we're like, hey, what's that cool thing off in the distance? Let's run over there and check it out.
Well, one of my favorite parts of the demo I played, and you'll see this in the direct capture footage, was I had come to a dead end, and I saw, looked like ore deposits on this, platform way below me, but I had to, scale the cliff to get there. I'm like, well, why not? I can do it. Right. So I just climbed down there, and I saw it, and I could go there, and I got what it was, and it was really cool that you can even do that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
It's really it's kind of like if you can see it, you can do it.
Yeah,
and it's awesome.
And with the cooking, it kind of reminds me of that too, because I saw them we could put all of one thing in and have something super powerful that it produces that effect, or we can just put a little bit of everything in and we have all kinds of different effects for a short time. Mm-hmm. It's very smartly designed like that, and I guess that's how you get your hearts back now, correct?
Yeah,
but
there are no hearts in the overworld now. You can't. It's like permanent hero mode, I guess. Yeah.
That's a good way. That's an interesting way of looking at it. Yeah, like they are really rethinking the conventions of Zelda, and that's what I'm most excited by. Like, it's not the Zelda you knew. It still feels like Zelda to some degree. I mean, it definitely feels like Zelda.
Yeah.
But it feels like something new at the same time.
Yeah, and one thing I also kind of going off the fact that you can't find hearts in the overworld, the game in general, at least the demo, felt like it had teeth. Like,
it did.
We both died a lot, and it seemed like it was pretty easy to get yourself into situations where there's either instant death or, almost instant death.
I came across one of those guardians, fucking ninjas.
See,
that tells you how intense it is.
Yeah.
Just nailed me with a laser beam and it killed me instantly.
And apparently
I was going to ask
hearts
if
of
you
damage.
fought one of those.
Yeah, they do 8 hearts of damage apparently.
Yeah.
So
holy crap! I mean, they are meant to be like the big thing to fight in this thing, which I have to imagine taking them out is probably a huge reward in some way.
Probably. I mean, and there was also I went to the Hylia River or whatever, and it's like a really cold lake. It's like in a polar region, and you die if you fall in. Like, there's no there's no fade out to white and it's transported. It's game over. And then it's you can reload, but it's there are a lot of ways to die. And even enemies, I love how enemies have their own health bars now, and they take a lot of hits to bring down. Even grunts. It's not to the point where it feels annoying fighting them, but they don't go down in 2 hits like in Wind Waker or Skyward Sword. They're they'll get back up and fight back, and I love that.
I love it. I think they get away with it now. I mean, they could have gone away with it before, but especially now because you have more options at your disposal, including just running away.
Yeah.
Whereas before, you generally had to take on the enemies as you came across them because of how narrow the environment was. But now you can go up to a cliff and try rolling a boulder on top of them instead.
Yeah. No, it's just there's so much to talk about with this game, and because it's just I can't even quite wrap my head around just how immense the final game is going to be. Because even the scale of the Great Plateau in the demo, the stuff I could see in the distance where you couldn't go right now, but eventually we'll be able to. Yeah. I'm like, there's so much between where I am and over there. And that's all stuff. It's all stuff to look at.
I can't wait to scale Death Mountain. Basically, the
distance. Just drop into the volcano portion.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well. No, I was just gonna say it was the world building here. I really hope they nail the world building of this, because we have the old man immediate callback to the original. A lot of people are noting that the similarities between him and King Daphnis from Wind Waker.
In that he has a beard.
In that, the nose shape as well.
Like the overall facial structure just seems similar to me, but I don't think it's
those don't look similar to me at all.
Yeah, I mean, that's just what people noted. But that whole thing I saw during the Treehouse, Bill was like showing how you can set waypoints and showing like an example of how you're distant. So you used the slate to like mark that one of those towers,
right? And
then he brought up the map in order to show how far away it actually was, and the tower itself. We saw on that artwork before E3 that it was blue. Here it was red, and that's interesting in of itself. Yeah. It's like I'm actually interested in this story because this is a storyline where Ganon has been in control for 100 years.
Well, no. Actually, the stuff I saw said that he was he was sealed within Hyrule Castle, but this black smoke swirling around Hyrule Castle is Ganon. They call him the Calamity Ganon in this one, which is interesting. But he's been barely contained within Hyrule Castle for the past 100 years.
Oh, okay.
Which is why Hyrule has fallen into the state of decay we see it in the game.
Yeah. Like, I'm interested in the story. What was Link in? Why was he awakened now? Why was he sealed in the first place? Like,
mysteries. That's why it's great.
Yeah.
It leaves you asking questions, and
I think they made really good decisions on what to show us in terms of the story and what not to.
Yeah.
They really created a lot of compelling questions as to what's going on in this.
Well, they almost didn't show us a story. They just showed us a world that raises questions. And I do wonder, though, if it might mark a de-emphasis on story itself. I'm not saying world building. I think that's the two separate things. It seems like there's a lot of world building here. I do wonder there might be less of a story or less focus placed on story this time, especially with its non-linear nature.
Honestly, it was surprising. I thought I was going to get that sense, but I didn't actually.
Really?
I don't think there's going to be so much less of a focus on story so much as it is the story's not going to be handed to you on a silver platter. You have to go out and find it.
Yeah.
I don't think it's necessarily going to be a de-emphasis on story.
Well, that's what I kind of mean. I'm thinking more environmental storytelling, like Metroid Prime, for instance.
Right. Yeah.
Instead of having like cutscenes that spoon feed it to you constantly.
It was just, I guess, because it was surprising because on the Treehouse they said they weren't going to focus on story or characters at all. But at the end of the day, I actually know a lot more about this world and this Link than I thought I would. It's still obviously not very much, but I feel like there is some focus on trying to contextualize Link and contextualize what's going on in this world.
And there was a bit of confusion whether there'd be towns and townspeople or not,
right.
or whether it would just be small, just nothing there. And though they said, no, there are towns, there are places to visit, and I'm like, I want to see these towns.
I know.
Yeah.
That's a big question, but based on what we've seen of the world and how well they're handling the day-night cycle so far, like I'm intrigued. I hope that they've gone the distance with making those towns feel like real places as well.
Mm-hmm. Me too. Yeah.
To be clear, they've removed the towns from the demo, right? Just to avoid giving away story.
Well, there's no towns on the plateau, and all you can visit is the plateau. There's towns beyond that you can eventually reach, I assume.
Right.
What do you guys think of the beginning of the game? Because what I love is it's still following the Zelda template of Link just waking up.
Yeah.
But in a very seemingly different context.
Yeah.
Like, because we usually immediately we know who he is. Mm-hmm. We know, like, he came from the small village, or or he was awakened.
He's living with his grandma.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's
he's with his uncle for some reason.
Actually, this actually reminded me more. I guess you mentioned Fallout 3. It also reminded me of Crystallis, which had a similar thing where your character just pops up into the world, like he emerges from this, from this cave, and then he goes out on his adventure.
I think what it is this Link feels like he came from somewhere, specific. Like we know that he's waking up and he was placed in this stasis pod for a specific reason. And I kind of feel like part of the story is going to exploring Link's origin. This Link's origin, like why was he placed there?
Yeah.
Where did he come from?
What's his purpose?
Yeah, like was he alive during the last generation? Did he see the Calamity Ganon
did
do what it did?
Fail against Ganon? He had to be like repaired until this point.
Yeah, so I'm wondering what we're going to find out, and I feel like they're placing more emphasis on the mystery of Link this time around as a character.
So that could be a game title.
The mystery of
Link.
Yeah,
the mysterious.
The missing Link.
Yeah, missing Link. There we go.
Nice.
Yeah.
It would be interesting if the part of the demo wasn't actually the start of the game, and you started off as, like, let's say, a kid Link.
Yeah.
And you're just trapped away for all the wake up.
That would be interesting. We're actually not seeing the start of the game.
Yeah.
What did you guys think of the fact that there's actually voice acting now? Well, to some degree.
To some degree, yeah. It's not totally voiced. It, obviously just going to be special scenes or stuff like that.
It seems cutscenes is what it seems
like.
like.
I mean, it's weird, but
which
at the
is
same
fine.
time,
That's a nice step forward.
Yeah, it's a start.
I feel like they they added voice acting as little as possible.
They did.
Like
That's
they
true.
did it. They made the
in a very budget conscious.
Exactly. They were like, okay, we'll do it, but only in very small amounts. Like it doesn't feel like the departure that I thought it would, and it's fine. It doesn't matter.
No, it's. I mean, I like it. Like I like that they added it. It may not be quite to the extent I expected it.
Right.
Or maybe not hope for, I should say. But I do like that it's there. Like it does feel like they're finally, to some degree, moving into the modern era. Because aren't there still games out there that have voice acting, like a mix of voice acting and text dialogue, like other similar?
Yeah, there
I
are.
think so. Yeah.
So at least they have caught up with their contemporaries. So
right.
And honestly, I thought the voice actress sounded fine.
She sounded good.
Yeah.
It was supposed to be mysterious. It sounded mysterious. It didn't sound forced. It had that airy mysterious.
Triforce.
Oh God.
Oh,
no,
boy.
didn't they say though? No, they did clarify that Link himself wouldn't talk at all.
They did.
Yeah. Link is never going to talk, which no surprise.
Yeah,
there.
that's not a surprise.
Yeah.
So.
Well, he did in the CDI game. They should bring that. Should bring that back. Bring back that voice.
They should,
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
We've been waiting all this time.
Yeah. Oh,
One of the mountains you climb turn out to be the faces of evil.
Yeah.
No, nice.
No, I will say because of the openness, because of all you can do, balancing the dungeons seems like it's going to be a major hurdle.
Well, I wonder if they won't even have the traditional items, and they'll have like just the limited weapons you find, because you can do so much already.
Yeah, and it also felt like, at least to me, I mean, of course, I pick up on controls easily, and one of the things about E3 that can be annoying is when you're a veteran gamer, like people who cover games are, you have these, people employed by the publishers to like guide you through the demos, and it can be obnoxious, but this time with Zelda, I didn't need the help, but at the same time, I was like, these controls are surprisingly complex for a Nintendo.
They are.
They I was like, I was forgetting how to do certain things.
Oh yeah,
they're like really
you'll see
complex.
You'll see in our video. So I played I played the first half of the demo. You played the second half of the demo.
Yeah.
And so I don't know if you can tell exactly where we switch off in the game, but like you'll know which portion is mine. I'm the one just throwing bombs constantly. Like I forget what I was trying to do, but I wasn't trying to throw bombs constantly.
Yeah, I don't know what you were trying to do, but then
I think I was trying to crouch or like go into stealth mode and end up just throwing a bunch of bombs. So
like it's they utilize every single button on the Wii U gamepad.
Yep.
They utilize clicking in both analog sticks. Like it's a tough game to wrap your head around at first.
And beyond the controls, like there's even interface things to keep track of, like how you have a sound meter now.
Yeah,
that shows how much sound you're making and whether you can draw enemies' attention that way.
Like it definitely this is not Nintendo. This is not the Wii generation of Nintendo where they're catering to grandma and the whole family. This is like hey, this is we expect you to learn how to play this game.
Yep.
We're not going to hand it to you, and I like that.
Yeah.
With all these Skyrim comparisons, maybe they're trying to court the Skyrim crowd. I don't know if that's possible because that's a very particular crowd.
I think it's possible. Like I think this is the closest Nintendo's ever come to approaching like any game of this scale. I feel like.
Yeah. And I know Eiji Aonuma paid so much lip service to the idea of making an open world non-linear Zelda, and he did that ever since Skyward Sword, and then we saw what Skyward Sword turned out not to be. And I think I just had it in my mind that okay, they were going to keep saying this, and they were going to have to deliver on doing an open world expansive Zelda.
Right.
But they didn't just have to deliver, they double delivered. It's bigger and more expansive and more free than I anticipated at all.
Between Ash and I, we played the game for about an hour and a half now. Yeah, hour and 15 maybe. And granted, we haven't been super surgical in our exploring that area, but I still feel like we haven't even seen half maybe of what that maybe half of what areas
around
are.
Half.
Yeah,
but based on the stuff that we've also watched, I don't feel like based on what we played, I think we covered maybe 20%, 15% of that whole area.
I mentioned this to you. I think it was you when we were watching, or maybe it was you, Tom. I can't remember. But when we're watching these demos and we're recording other people playing. You can take a look at any different monitor, and they're in a completely different area of this, of what is a small area of this, what is going to be a massive world.
Right.
Like that's how big this area is.
Right.
You can be in any number of places in it. So.
And that does speak to one of my somewhat major gripes so far from what
you have mentioned it a couple of times. To me,
it did bug me, and that was that I felt restless, and that's easy to do in the context of E3 because you're standing, you're uncomfortable.
Right.
But I just felt like I wanted to get places just a little faster. And now I know later in the game your stamina meter can be upgraded. You'll get Epona. You can, hang glide. That's great. But even just walking around, I felt was too slow. And then his stamina meter, at least at present, runs out way too quickly. Like, I just feel like you're always constantly being punished for trying to just get places a little more quickly. I just wanted a little more immediacy, I think is what it was. I just felt like his default walk speed's too slow and running tires him out too fast. So... Yeah.
It's the wild leaves you breathless.
Yeah. yeah. But, I mean, that's, again, I feel like that's something that's going to be addressed in various ways.
Yeah, like once you build up your stamina.
Yeah, exactly.
And what is kind of cool about that, it'll make actually getting that stamina increased rewarding.
Yeah, which is like, it's something I'm actively looking forward to seeking out. And like, I'm going to feel like this actually matters to me. So
yeah, it's going to be interesting because I feel like I'm really going to be taking like just everything in total. I haven't gone there yet. I need to go there. Just covering every inch of this game to see what it has.
I really like so far, like that sense of satisfaction in just running around and exploring, like just seeing what's out there and just taking it all in.
I have a slight concern just for my own gaming taste, because I mentioned this before we found out about what the game was. I for myself, open world non-linear games, I kind of suffer from the paralysis of analysis. So like I'll play something like GTA 5 and I won't ever do anything.
Yeah,
I'm like, I don't know what to do, and I don't know
Right.
which direction to go in. I need some guidance. I am slightly concerned that I'm going to feel that overwhelming feeling at first, but at the same time, I'm not as concerned as I thought it would be. So it's a little weird.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, at some point, I found you just have to either. I think the thing that gets me is like, well, I have all these side missions, but then I also have the main story, which might open up even more stuff, and I'm not quite sure which to go for first. And I don't know how, like, if they'll point you in the direction you're supposed to go with Zelda. We don't know that yet, obviously.
Well, I think from what we're based on right now, like it seems like those shrines are gonna play a major role. So right there, that is an immediate goal, to go for.
Well, and there was some light. I don't want to say handholding, because you could do whatever you want. But like when you first start the first portion of the demo, if you take too long just exploring, Zelda will speak to Link and say, "Hey, go to the Temple of Time."
Oh,
but you don't have to do it.
Yeah.
But so there is a little guiding if you want it, I think. But you don't have to do it. You don't have to follow it.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is good.
I do want to say real quick, I really do like the idea of the shrines. I mean, again, I'm biased.
Me too.
Well, not biased, but it was in my top 10.
Yeah.
But I'm glad the execution of them, from what little we've seen so far,
Yeah.
that's exactly what I wanted. Like that is, they do seem like these super mini dungeons.
Yeah.
And they teach you this new skill in the cases of the ones we explored.
Got a new rune.
Yeah. Dug it.
I love it. I mentioned this when we were walking back from E3 today. I love the idea, and if the execution, if they nail it, amazing. The only thing I'm slightly worried about is that like 80 of these 105 mini dungeon shrines are going to have like gold rupees as the reward, and not actual cool things.
I hope
but
not, yeah.
They seem to have learned from that kind of stuff. So I'm hopeful that
I don't have that fear because we've seen having clothes to find, having weapons to find, having maybe new concoctions or ingredients or anything like that, rare ingredients.
So there may be
that
nothing
you
to worry
can put
about,
together. So I feel like there's a lot of other stuff that they can reward Link with, that they don't need to rely on just here's 50 rupees.
And we don't know what those spirit orbs do that are the rewards for the shrines that are in the demo.
Yeah,
you get a spirit orb, and we don't know what those do yet.
I wonder if it's like a Skulltula or maybe something way better.
It totally could be.
Yeah,
and get ourselves a bigger wallet.
Yeah, exactly.
But I mean, that is the thing. What are we going to spend the rupees on? Because they are confirmed to be in the game when you get to the towns.
Right, and you can actually sell some of the materials you get for more rupees. Like you can get ore, and you can sell the ore that you find.
Which tells me that things are going to probably be a little bit more pricey if you have to sell things.
I think so too.
To gather it up, or rupees are just that much harder to find.
Yeah, I really hope that there are like random caves you can find where they're just like these weird people living inside that want to play money-making games. Like, just these random people who want to gamble with you, just for no reason.
Oh, a Zelda card game. Zelda card game. So next year we can get a game completely focused on that card game.
Oh, totally. Yeah.
The scene cuts to Link walking out of the cave, holding to the side with a big scar where his kidney was.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh
There's
man, what
so
if we
much
I wonder if we'll get a Tingle analog.
Maybe.
I mean, with him, I have to imagine guy on a balloon mapping things out might be kind of useful.
Yeah.
But we already know, I think, that you filling your map from going to the towers.
Right.
Oh, okay.
You know, one thing it'll be interesting. It'll be hard to find to kind of gauge this, but this, at least based on the demo, because we didn't have any other NPCs to talk to except for the old man, it felt darker than Zelda usually is. Like, this felt like a darker Zelda. Like, I don't know. Like, there wasn't as much kind of...
I wouldn't say... I see where you're going. I would say it's more isolating.
Yeah. Maybe more isolating, yeah. I guess that's what it is.
The world is in ruins. You've basically been dropped in the mountains.
Yeah,
so.
Yeah.
Well,
I guess because it feels more dangerous. It feels
that's
like
true,
a more
yeah.
ruthless
I can see
Zelda,
that.
like where Link can really die easily. And,
Man, you saying that makes me wonder, like, man, what if they made a Metroid game like this?
Isn't that like are most Metro games like that?
I think they're all.
Well, I mean, in the fact that open world and
oh,
all
okay,
that
yeah,
kind of
oh,
stuff,
yeah,
I see what you're
going
saying.
anywhere.
That would actually be interesting.
Yeah, because Metroid Prime's kind of like that in 3D, but it's a lot more, you know,
it's
tunnels and
yeah,
stuff like that.
that's for sure.
Having it open and danger all around and stuff like that. I mean, this could be a formula that could kind of work for a couple of different Nintendo franchises.
Yeah, maybe.
Speaking of other games, this is an interesting segue. This kind of blew my mind. The fact that the Wolf Link amiibo literally brings Wolf Link to hunt along with.
That is okay.
Yeah.
That is such a weird thing because
it's weird.
When they first demoed that for me, I'm like, wait, so we have Link and Link working together?
That's like, and I know that. Here's the thing: Nintendo sees it as a cool gameplay feature.
Right.
Fans see it as like, wait, they're literally transporting another Link into this timeline's era, whatever, to work together alongside Link.
He's going across dimensions because he's in a completely different timeline.
He even has a broken chain still on his.
Exactly.
Oh, does he?
Yeah.
Like I almost wanted to see Midna in there too. So I'm just
know.
like, it's weird to see another Link working alongside Link as his hunting partner.
It is weird.
Well, that raises the question. I mean, if he does become the hunting partner, which seems like a substantial thing, we can hunt already. Can we recruit animals to be our hunting partners? Because they did show a lot of wildlife at the beginning of the trailer.
I'm sticking with my predictions from the grass analysis, which I think was more on than a lot of people thought at the time.
Yeah.
I think it's pretty clear wildlife is going to play, I think, a larger role in this game than we even know right now.
Yeah.
Just because of how much they pop up in the game. Even if they don't, I just loved how they were there as a background detail. Like, there was one point where I think I crested a cliff, and there's this bird flying in a V formation overhead. I'm like, that's so cool, so awesome seeing that.
I honestly wouldn't be surprised if you get a rune later on for the Sheikah slate that lets you take control of wildlife,
or maybe at least some of them
recruit them to your side,
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
Because the thing is, if you can't recruit wildlife, all of a sudden this is probably the most substantial amiibo ever.
That's true.
Yeah, actually, that's a good point.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah,
that's unusual for amiibo, so that tells me that we have to be able to recruit.
The weird thing is about the amiibo mechanic, I actually like that they put a lot of thought into it. It seems like it's cool.
It's something. Yeah.
At the same time, I'm not a big fan of using cheat codes essentially, right? I
right.
feel like if it's not a what's the word I'm looking for, an integral part of the game or innate part of the game, I don't want to use it.
Right.
So.
And that's if we have animals that have that same sort of thing.
Right.
It's just a different kind of animal or a different kind of skin.
And it probably is the
would
case.
work in that
right.
case. Yeah.
But we got into the two of us got into enough hairy situations in the demo that I felt like having that partner would have really helped in those circumstances. So it's actually nice that it's hard enough or it feels difficult enough to where that might actually be helpful.
Andre picks up a bomb and accidentally bombs his own
Oh my god.
That's actually not too far from what actually happened.
It really isn't.
It isn't. Yeah, it was really funny. Wow.
Yeah.
There was something I was going to say. What was it?
Well, what do you think the new amiibo for Breath of the Wild will do? Because we got 3 new ones.
They fill your heart.
Okay, I thought, God, Jesus.
Yeah.
I thought I heard somewhere it didn't involve. Do they all involve summoning animals or something?
I don't know.
I didn't hear anything.
I don't remember where I heard that. I could be wrong.
So I think there are 2.
I think a rep is telling me that, but they don't fully know every.
Yeah. So I think there are 2 links, and then there's Archer Link.
Archer Link, Rider Link, as he's officially called, and then the Guardian.
Yeah.
And the Guardian is freaking huge.
It is.
Yeah. They're cool the way they come to life, and they're actually a presence that you're afraid of.
They are.
Yeah.
Maybe if the game's too easy, you just scan the Guardian, and then
That's
a
true.
whole bunch come after you.
Oh no, even better, Guardian as your pet.
Oh yeah, there you go. That'd be awesome.
I wouldn't be surprised if you could do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what though? Seeing this world now, I can't wait until I have a Guardian. I hope they chase you in this game like they do in that.
Me
E3
too.
demo.
I bet they do.
That's gonna be so fun escaping them in that world. I think.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Could you imagine an area at night, maybe in ruins, in tight hallways where you're trying to use stealth to run away from a Guardian slowly, and it's just moving around looking for you, kind of like War of the Worlds.
Yeah.
Oh, that'd
I
be
totally
awesome.
can. That would be a lot. I've actually heard comparisons to War of the Worlds with the Guardians.
Yeah.
And good.
No, you go ahead.
Oh, what's just as interesting as what we saw is what we didn't see, and things like Epona. We didn't get to see Epona. We didn't get to ride on Epona, and also we didn't see Zelda. We don't know what this Zelda's going to look like, or really what her role's going to be.
What her relationship to Link's going to be.
Yeah. And even with Skyward Sword, they revealed her design immediately.
Yeah.
That was one of the first things they showed us.
Yeah.
We don't know.
She was integral to Skyward Sword, really.
Yeah.
And obviously, with all the Sheikah designs everywhere, Impa has to be somewhere. So what's her design going to be like?
This is very much a core Zelda, story title, with Ganon and the Triforce, and it isn't one of those Yeah,
I'm loving that. Like, I
Yeah.
really am liking that. It's like almost like back to basics.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah,
And
I did see
yeah.
a few people like, oh, it's not Ganon again. But no, I think this is a very different form of Ganon. I would actually, because he's called Ganon, I would not be surprised if he never shows up in his human form.
Yeah, it could be.
He
That'd
seems to be
something.
almost like a force of nature in this one.
That's a
not,
good
not
one,
Like
yeah.
not even like a pig demon or a human, like a force of nature. He is the Black Mist.
What if he actually like can possess like almost ways of wildlife, and like they end up being your enemies at points, perhaps?
Or
Corrupt
something.
them. in
Yeah,
some way.
exactly.
Yeah, because I mean, he literally is that Black Mist that's
Yeah.
swirling around Hyrule Castle. So
Yeah, I'm honestly like really intrigued by what little we know because
Me too.
I'm loving that. Like, this is what I want. Like, that's the opening of the game I wanted, as Derek touched on. Like, I love that mystery. The
Yeah.
idea we don't know what's happening here.
And again, I mean, because of the Koroks, I can't help but be reminded of the fact that the whole reason why Wind Waker happened was because Link was gone and
Yeah.
the people appealed to the gods and Link never came.
Yep.
And Ganon was able to run rampant and destroy Hyrule. And I just keep getting reminded of that, and I'm like, oh my god, I love where this is possibly falling in. Yeah.
So, I know you mentioned earlier you got a darker sense from the game, but what do you think of the art style, which is mostly decidedly not dark? It's like a very bright.
Yeah. You
art
know,
style.
I almost get like a wistfulness from it. I get a very Miyazaki-esque or Studio Ghibli-esque kind of
Which we
vibe
made
from the
back in
whole.
the-
Yeah, the
Yeah.
Princess
Which I
Mononoke
make
connection.
about everything.
But I think especially the music is reminiscent of Ghibli, and I just kind of got like kind of almost like a sadness, wistfulness, but maybe not dark. Maybe it was more just kind of like the isolation.
I think it's isolation.
A
I totally
kingdom
get
in
that sense
decay
too.
kind
Yeah.
of, yeah.
How about this factoring in? The music doesn't play all the time. It's mostly environmental sounds.
Yeah, with music stings, which is a new approach for them.
Yeah.
Which,
That is
yeah.
interesting too. Yeah, you're right.
But I feel like it works in the context of this game because
Save the music for the bigger moments or the
Yeah.
important moments.
it is strange how non-Zelda the Zelda is.
Yeah, while still
being
Zelda.
Zelda. It's
yeah.
such a bizarre thing.
Yeah.
Here's a question. Assuming the full game is awesome, which so far it seems to be, but just based on the direction we know so far, can they ever go back to how like the most recent 3D Zelda games have worked?
Not for console Zeldas. Probably.
Yeah, not for that's what I'm thinking.
You have to stick with only the handhelds
Like,
can do the classic.
This is almost like a point of no return. I feel like they can't
Yeah.
go back to like a Skyward Sword after this.
It's true.
Yeah.
I mean, it's weird to think what the future of Zelda will be after this.
Yeah, where do you go from here?
But also, I also feel like it's going to be like another decade before we get another console Zelda after this.
Jesus, yeah.
Yeah. It's true though. That's a good point. Where does Zelda go from here? It's kind of like the same problem with Smash. It's like, where do you go from a 58 character roster? It's like
Right.
you can only go down.
Yeah.
So I feel like it's true. How are they going to design a Zelda bigger and more detailed and more expansive than this?
Right.
Well, what might happen again if you compare the NES Zelda to the Super Nintendo Zelda is that they're going to fill in the gaps more and have such a big world still. And then maybe eventually they end up going down that hole towards Skyward Sword with very linear areas. But that would be my guess, is the budget would get bigger once again. Because right now it's in ruins.
Yeah.
But maybe in the future it's like more towns, more lively.
But I also hope that that's not what they do. Like, I hope that there's room for both styles of Zelda experience now. Because I don't want them just to get bigger and more
Yeah.
dense. I would like to still see those kind of smaller, more linear experiences from the series as well. Not instead. Just, I don't want this to replace those smaller Zelda experiences, Or more linear. Not smaller, more linear.
Yeah, it depends how they go about it. Like, I'm
Yeah.
honestly okay if we don't go down the Twilight Princess route or Skyward Sword route again.
Sure.
But I do like, like if they use the templates of the 2D games, for instance, like the top-down games.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think. So, there's definitely wiggle room here, but I mean, it's just going to be interesting to see the next console Zelda after this one. I mean, we're getting ahead of ourselves, but just where do they go from there? Wow.
Yeah. I think 3D Zelda, like for better and worse, 3D Zelda as we know it, or as we knew it, is done.
I think so.
This is the new template for 3D Zelda. I think handheld 3D Zelda and 2D Zelda is still going to be maybe what we've come to learn and expect.
Yeah.
But I think AAA, big scale console 3D Zelda is over as we know it, and this is the new thing.
I think you're right. And by you saying handheld right there, it reminded me of how there's no hand holding in this game.
Yeah, there really isn't.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it really just kind of throws you into the deep end, and it expects you to learn, and if you die, get a game over, no big deal.
Trial by fire, literally.
Yeah, literally. Yeah. Especially where you were concerned.
Maybe it took a game like Minecraft that's so popular with kids for Nintendo to say, maybe games can be hard for kids and you still like them a ton.
The funny thing about Minecraft is, like, I have a hell of a time, like, knowing how they work that game. Like, kids, like, you pick it up like it's nothing. So.
Yeah. I think you need Wikipedia open or something.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
So,
It's interesting. I wonder if, like, you know, in the final version, if there will be like difficulty settings or something, because it's so un-Nintendo like for them to make a game that's this. It kind of feels unforgiving at times, and that's okay with me. It's just it's so different from what they have been doing recently.
Yeah, it's this heartless.
You know what was kind of fun? Actually, being unforgiving, like maybe that's part of the reason why climbing isn't that fast. Like it feels like when I was almost near the top of that rock. Like I felt like it was like starting to get intense. Like I did it. I'm like, I just lost all this progress. I climbed that freaking mountain again.
You got to earn it.
Yeah. Although, and, you know, the game is very good, as we've learned. The game is very good about dropping you back off after you die. Like you don't get sent back. There are lots of little checkpoints.
Exactly.
Like in every instance we died, we were, you know, we didn't feel like we had been sent back too far.
No, we didn't.
Yeah.
So I think we've covered it pretty well so far. We'll be covering more in the coming days.
Yeah.
But final thoughts or any final points you want to bring up about Zelda? Hold on. Breath of the... Don't tell me. Hold on.
You totally forgot.
I totally forgot again.
Breath of the Wild.
That's it.
I was going to say starts with a W, ends with a D.
Yep.
See if he gets it.
Just call it Hyren.
Hyren, I know, seriously.
There you go.
Yeah, I mean, wow, my hype, like, journey for this game has been so strange. It's so odd, but I'm excited for this now. I was, like, this morning I was cautiously excited.
Yeah.
I'm full on hype for this game. I'm excited.
Yep.
Straight up.
From everything I've seen, it looks like a great step in the right direction. And it's one of those things where you look at it and you want to play. And I actually did see a few people like, okay, maybe this is too much Zelda, like, at once. But also, it's like one of those things where you can, like, okay, well, I'm ready for more Zelda. Let's check out what they're doing right now. Because I think what people realize with having this much is that they saw, oh, yes, I want to play that. And they kind of stepped away. And they're like, yes, give me that. And
so are you saying, like, people tuning in and out of the stream? Is that what you're saying?
Exactly.
Or?
And basically, like, this is enough. I'm sold on it. You don't need to show me I don't need to see anything else. You've convinced me.
Yeah.
And, I want to go hands on it with it so badly. I'm so excited for that moment. But everything I've seen so far makes me excited to try it out.
Yeah, I love the sense of empowerment that they've given the player in this Zelda, and just...
It's a good way of putting it.
Yeah, it is.
And, I think we've only covered maybe 2% of what there is there.
Oh my god, this analysis is going to be a pain in the butt.
You thought the Smash analysis took a long time.
Yeah, exactly.
But I just love how they've gone back to their roots of, like, not knowing what's going on, exploring, and it's been quite a while for me, personally, since I've been so, like... I don't know, it feels like the hype finally is here for a Nintendo game again. Like, before it's like, I feel like I've seen it all, and for Nintendo to come in and, like, surprise me so much with what they can still do. I'm really looking forward to it.
That really is it. Like, a lot of, like, obviously we're all huge Nintendo fans, but at the same time, like, a lot of their games do feel kind of like paint by the numbers, like, a lot of them do feel conventional. And they also switch up, I mean, they do amazing stuff as well, like Splatoon, great.
Yeah.
But with some of their series, they do get stuck in, like, this rut.
They play it safe with a lot
Exactly.
of their most treasured IPs.
That's it.
Yeah.
And I love this breath of fresh air for this game. Like, it feels like, yeah, that's it.
Of wind.
Of wild.
I just love how different it feels. Like, it feels like no Zelda before, except for, of course, original. Like, it does feel like the original just updated massively. And
I mean, after today, it is definitely apparent why Nintendo has the confidence they do in this game. I mean,
and also why it's taken so long.
Yeah.
That too. I mean, the delays hurt and whatever, but it makes sense. I mean, this is a truly massive game, and I can see why it's taken them this long to kind of pull it all together.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's an impressive showcase for the Wii U, even if it's not running because of the frame rate yet.
Right. That's actually one thing I did want to mention, and this is not going to surprise anyone who's really paying attention. But the Wii U version we found out in our live feed demo today is 720p.
That's right.
It outputs at 720, not 1080, which shouldn't really surprise anyone.
Yeah.
But it kind of makes me wonder if the big thing about the NX version is going to be, hey, outputting a full 1080p.
1080p, 60 frames per second.
I can see them doing that. I can see that being the draw of the NX version.
Right.
And that would be a huge draw.
Yeah, literally.
May better draw distance.
Yeah.
Like, I could actually see, like, I think the game is gorgeous, but I could see some areas already, like, you can already tell it is pushing the Wii U to its limits.
Yeah.
And I've already seen some areas where they could improve, especially, like, with the rock climbing. Like, I love that gameplay element. at the same time, like, you're really close to those cliff faces, and those textures weren't great on those rocks.
And the geometry on some of the stuff was a little basic looking. But you could tell that it was a Wii U game that was stretching. You know, it wasn't the kind of Wii U game where Nintendo was able to hide the Wii U's weaknesses behind certain cool techniques, like in Mario Kart 8.
Exactly.
This is a game it's so massive that they can't really mask
can't hide it. Yeah, exactly.
But I have to say, those moments where it isn't straining the frame rate and you're just walking around,
it's gorgeous.
It looks incredible.
It absolutely does.
Yeah.
Like, it's how much is going on with the enemies, the wildlife, the grass. Like, here's something interesting, and okay, don't hold me to this, but I haven't done the A and B comparisons. But last night, what was the other Zelda-like game, the open world game?
Horizon.
Yeah.
Looking at the draw distance in that relative to Zelda, like in terms of like the grass, it's actually better in Zelda. Like in Horizons, I saw the grass popping up constantly in front of me.
Yeah, I did see. Yeah,
I didn't notice that with Zelda. So, granted, one was on a giant ass TV or a giant ass projected screen. The other was on a smallerish TV. But I mean, that's just speaking to what Zelda does well.
You know, speaking of Horizon, actually, that speaks to something that I fear Zelda might suffer from, and it wouldn't be fair, but I think because of the similar themes, in general, you know, nature reclaiming, you know, and versus technology, I kind of feel like there are going to be comparisons drawn.
Yeah. You know, I didn't think about it. You're absolutely right.
I already compared it. I said Horizon's like a Zelda killer for Sony.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, and I feel like a lot of people are going to do that because they're so similar, just in style, I feel.
That's
it's not a fair comparison.
They both use bows.
Yeah,
exactly.
They're similar, but I think they're different enough because I don't think when I see Horizon, I kind of get a Zelda. I don't get a complete Zelda vibe.
Horizon feels more action focused than
more
Zelda
action focused. It does. It feels like most modern games. Zelda, despite all of its differences, still seems like Zelda.
It does.
Yeah.
And I think you could make the comparison. But I don't think it exactly meshes.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think Horizon, I mean, there does seem to be some focus on exploration in Horizon, but I don't expect there to be like over 100 mini dungeons with rewards for you to find in Horizon, for example.
Exactly.
So, yeah.
Yep, alright, is that it, guys? Or any final thoughts you want to get out, or are we done here?
Anything you guys are looking forward for the Treehouse tomorrow? Or in particular, just in general tomorrow?
Oh, yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah.
I want to see what Mario Party is about, even if it's on the 3DS. I automatically don't really care that much, but just because I want to play Mario Party on 3DS. But I do want to see if they're learning their lessons.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So we'll see. Yeah.
Well, they just revealed that they're going to be demoing Rhythm Heaven Megamix.
That's true.
Which for me is like, I can't wait, and maybe we'll get a release date. I hope.
I think we will.
I think
so.
I think we'll
I think so.
Probably.
Yeah.
We're getting release dates for everything else.
Even Paper Mario. So,
Yep.
And I'm looking forward to. I mean, 3DSs have been having a hell of a year for RPGs, and we're getting a new IP on it. No idea if it's
That's
actually
surprising.
from Nintendo or not.
Yeah.
But I'm curious what this new IP is from Nintendo, and just. I'm excited to check out the show floor tomorrow, maybe, possibly.
I am excited to see what the new IP is, but the last time that we had that happen, it was Codename Steam.
Yeah.
So
And
a
I
little
love
less.
that game.
You did.
But that's a good game.
Yeah. So.
The interesting, I am curious to see if so. Odds are, at the very least, it's going to be a first-party published title.
Yeah.
But we're not sure if it's going to be a first-party developed title.
True.
So I'm really interested to see what that is going to be.
Yeah.
A new IP introduction this late in the 3DS's life cycle. Very interesting.
Yeah.
So, yep, we'll see. We'll see.
What about you, Tom?
Well, as for me, I'll just be honest. I want to play Zelda.
Yeah.
I mean, I actually just want to play more Zelda. Like, I had a little taste of it now. Like, I want more of that.
See, it's funny. I actually feel like I mean, I would love to play more if I could, but I don't feel like I need to go out of my way to. I feel like I've got a pretty good taste of it.
Yeah.
And I mean, I loved it, so it's not like I didn't like it, but I feel like I know what this game's about. I played enough of it to get a general feel of it. Now I can wait for the full game to explore everything I want to explore.
For me, like, I just want to see what other interactions I can have in this environment.
No, it's true. Yeah.
And also, I think there's a Kingdom Hearts 2.8 demo on the show floor.
There is.
Yeah, I need to check that out.
Yep, we sure do.
All right, well, I think we are done here. I think we've covered it pretty well. And we're not done, but we'll be back tomorrow night, I think, with a part 2 where we'll discuss what else we saw that day, what Nintendo may have shown, and what more Zelda we played. So stay tuned to Game Explained for lots more on all those games, including and especially Zelda. We have more Zelda appointments still. A couple more.
Thank goodness we set up so many appointments.
I know, seriously. And we have a couple surprises coming tomorrow afternoon-ish, too, hopefully. So stay tuned for that as well. And yeah, of course, if you liked our discussion, make sure to like and follow us on Facebook and Twitter at Game Explained. You can find links to them in the description below. Links.
And subscribe to us as we take take over E3.
Yep, that's it. Yeah, let's go with that. We'll take over E3.
Yeah.
Basically.
This is our convention now.
Yep, I like it. All right, guys, thanks for watching. Bye.